Today, we are going to talk about where we think Twitter is going in the long term. So as of this recording, Elon's taking it over for about, I think, give or take 45 days or so. Is that right, Neil? Maybe less?
Yeah, it's something like that. He's been making a lot of changes, had a lot of hiccups, had some advertisers pause, and he's had to get on the phone with them to try to get him back. But yeah, it's been a really rocky start for him.
Where do you think it's going?
So I wouldn't ever bet on Elon. His track record is amazing.
You mean you wouldn't bet against him?
Yeah, that's what I said. No?
No, you said you wouldn't ever bet on him.
No, I wouldn't bet against him. His
Yeah.
track record, and sorry about that, but thank you for correcting me. His track record is amazing. I haven't seen really any entrepreneur solve ridiculously hard problems like Elon, such as going into space and trying to colonize another planet or self-driving cars. He really does push the envelope, and that's what makes him so amazing, and that's what makes him Elon. But I do think he's spread thin. And because he's spread thin, can he find the right person to lead up Twitter? Sure. I think he's trying to find better ways to monetize, such as charging for check marks or other features. I don't think that's going to be super effective. We've worked with quite a few social platforms over the years, and we've run a lot of surveys and tests with these platforms, and we've talked to them. Even though users want to control their privacy and they want a lot of stuff and they don't want to see ads, it's actually really hard to get them to pay $10, $20 a month or a year, whatever the price is, assuming that the price that you're charging makes you more than ads would, right? Or else it's not worth it for you, the social platform. So I think he's going to struggle. I think he's going to have a lot of misinformation that's already started to happen, where I'm not saying he won't succeed. I think in the short run, he'll run into a lot of struggles. In the long run, I think he can succeed, but he's going to have to figure out how to make Twitter a much bigger platform. And what I mean by that is, yeah, there's Twitter. You can do images, you can add videos, you can go live, but like, how do you make it a platform that everyone wants to use? And I know there's been conversations about making it like WeChat where you can do everything, but it's easier said than done. And on top of that, people don't go to Twitter for payments, for example. That's not what consumers have in mind when it comes to payments. Just like Apple has a credit card, it's not like we all are like, oh yeah, if you want to pay people, you get an Apple credit card. Sure, there's Apple Pay and you connect your credit card with it. That's a little bit different, but it's not like you're housing a lot of your own personal money and your finances in Apple and creating an Apple bank account. I think in the long run, he'll figure out how to make the product much, much better and expand upon it and do much more than just it being a social network. And in the long run, I think he can succeed, but in the short run, I think it's just going to be a total mess because there's going to be so many experiments that you have to run to figure out what's the right moves for the long run.
Yeah, so Elon himself has said, life is really not about how much money you have. It's really about creating interesting products or helpful products and services for humanity. That's what it's all about. And so where I think Twitter is going, he actually has a thesis when he created X.com, which eventually he merged with PayPal, and then PayPal became what it did. And so he has this idea of the super app, which kind of Neil was talking about, which, maybe he can borrow some ideas from WeChat, but I think he has, to your point also as well, he wants to tie in, payment rails here, right? And so, there are plans from what I'm reading to integrate, the Bitcoin network as well, that he's kind of openly said that. But the good thing about him too is that he's openly talking to other creators out there. So when Mr. Beast is like, he's saying like, hey, like, what should we be doing? And Mr. Beast like, hey, like, honestly, like, you got to copy TikTok. You got to make it like a carbon copy, right? So the good news is he's talking to people, and video is going to be I think it's going to be a point, right? Because they've kind of lagged behind over the last couple of years. It's more or less been the same platform. Not a lot of innovation has happened. I do agree with Neil too that I watched a video recently. I don't know if you've seen it, Neil, but he's basically working like 110 to 120 hours a week. And that's just not sustainable. But to his credit, you have to look at everything he's built, right? So for SpaceX, I believe her name is it's 𝗠𝗿𝗲𝗏 or Gwen or something like that.
Something like that. She runs it. She's doing an amazing job.
Yeah. So when you are the richest man in the world, but also you're like one of the biggest guys on Twitter, and you've done a lot of amazing things for humanity, people want to work for you because your vision is so big, right? So I think he's going to be able to get the right people. I think he has a big mess to clean up right now. I think he needs to come off this thing quickly, or else he's going to drive himself crazy, because I think he's at the brink right now. Neil and we're both Elon fans, and I think he's a net positive for humanity, and his whole mission of bringing Twitter back to becoming that public town square I think long-term it works out, but to Neil's point, I think he has a lot of mess. He's a big mess to clean up for the next 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, the one thing I would say is don't bet against him. He's one of the best entrepreneurs in the world. He's proven it. And he's one of my favorite entrepreneurs. And it's not because he's rich. It's because he's actually trying to tackle hard problems that no one else would ever try to. And I think this is amazing on what he does.
Yep. And by the way, he's the DAUs. He posted it yesterday, I believe, that the daily active users are trending upwards, and he's so good at trolling, and he's just driving a lot more impressions overall. So he knows what he's doing. So yeah, that is it for today. Please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us grow.